Hey everybody, this is Perch. I was talking about this with a friend who suggested to be a good video topic. And I don't know if I'm going to do a good job with this video topic, and I'm going to try and wrap it into a bigger point of where the MCU struggles. But I think you can just debate it without all that big baggage. You can just debate it as an individual topic. And it's basically this. I mean, the premise is the snap. So in Infinity War, when Thanos wiped out half the universe, with the Infinity Stones, and half the universe just turned into dust and vanished. Were killed, moved to a different spot, whatever. It actually makes one wonder, by the way, couldn't Thanos have created a new multiverse and just it was empty and then just have dumped half the people into it with the Infinity? Well, whatever. You know what? I'm not going to go down that path. Anyway, when he did that snap, half the people disappeared. And in the movies in Phase 4 in particular, quote unquote, dealt with it. We've had in 4 and 5, we had a bunch of scenes of movies where the snap was having an impact on the Earth and the superheroes were having to deal with it and everything else. So the question is this: is the snap meant to be a horrifying kind of tragedy that is that broke people, that something that was serious, something that has long term trauma, something that is truly a disaster for humanity? Or is the snap just kind of some hilarious thing where, what row, some people got married awkward, what was the snap? Is it meant to be serious? Is it meant to be a joke? And briefly, if I can tie that into a bigger kind of, topic about Marvel, one of the MCU's strengths and weaknesses is that there are a lot of different tones. You can watch different movies and you can get kind of a, sci-fi movie over here, a spy thriller there, something that's mildly horror over here. You have these different things. That's generally a strength. The challenge is when you make all these movies kind of play together and you don't do a good job of kind of curating these lines, then I think it gets I don't know, weird or troublesome or bad. It also means that, like, sometimes I think you shoehorn the wrong things into the movie. So, for example, Captain America 4, spy thriller movie, but Anthony Mackie really is designed to be more of an action hero, a little bit more charismatic than kind of a spy thriller type actor is my belief. I think he's very good at what he does, but I think there's a little bit of tone and genre miscasting there. And then you've got the Red Hulk also in there, and the leader, and a bunch of things I don't know. Some parts of that are good spy thriller movies, but you've got when you got Sidewinder there, and you've got the leader there, and you've got Red Hulk, it starts to get like what is this movie exactly? I think it just gets muddled. That may not be the best example, but I think several of these films, is the Marvels, was that meant to be a comedy, sci-fi film? If you stop to think about it a little bit, it's like there's parts of that that are just pretty pretty shitty. Like it's hard to look at that and say, yeah, Carol Danvers is a big superhero. I mean, she's off dancing in this dancing planet, but some of her actions basically, starved and close to murdered a whole group of people. There's just aspects of this is like, hang on a second. Um, these movies, Doctor Strange, horror film, comedy, a little both. What is it? I think that's been confusing, and so overall, if you're trying to assemble all these things together, I think that you have to be very careful in how you do it. It's easy to get kind of mistaken about it. But back to the snap in general, because I think the question for you, and here's how I would look at it. If you followed up with the Infinity War with Endgame, and in Endgame, you saw the consequences of the snap. The world was kind of dark and dismal. There's support groups. Steve Rogers sits in on one. He's more or less a broken man because he failed to save kind of his friends. Thor has been is become Fat Thor and all the rest. He's been reduced to kind of a shell of himself. It's played for laughs, but still, you see this guy is wrecked. Um, you basically in Endgame treat it like a serious traumatic thing that's going to have really long lasting impacts. You move into things like, WandaVision, where you have people coming back from the snap and realizing that, you know, family members have died, and it's played as not quite as seriously tragic. There's a comedy element to it, but still a thing that really wrecked the world. And then you play it for laughs in She-Hulk, and you sort of play it for laughs in Marvels, although maybe that's not the best example. You have these different films where it's played as a variety of kind of something really horrific and troublesome and challenging for people, and also a zany thing where people just disappeared. And yet this event, if it really isn't meant to be a joke. It was meant to be kind of the culmination of the biggest villain the MCU had, Thanos, that they built up to for several years of movies. He was the big bad. This was his big bad plan, and all of this was supposed to be devastatingly horrific for the Marvel universe. Fine. Um, so when you treat it as kind of a goofy joke, it it undercuts a lot of what Marvel's trying to do, and you're left with, do these movies matter or not? The interesting part about, I think, the Marvel universe in general and all the films there is that all the different tones, all the different styles, all the different actors, all the different stories, there is something in there for everyone. But the one thing that Disney really needs people to believe about all of the films is that they all matter. That every single one, if you think about kind of their style of how they put stuff out and everything else, the consistent element there is that these films, if you miss one, you're missing a key part of the puzzle. You're going to miss part of the bigger tapestry of films. They all need to matter. And every scene, every post credits, why they, have people sit through the theater for 5 minutes while you're looking at all the visual effects artists are being listed there to sit in for the post credits, because you don't want to miss a scene. If you miss a scene, you're going to miss the story. And I think this is an example of something that breaks that contract with people. If you make kind of one of the biggest events in the Marvel Universe's existence, i.e., the snap and what happened there, if you make it simultaneously a tragedy and a joke, then it's hard for it to matter. It's hard for you to care whether or not this is something that we should care about or not. Whether, or, was this just a silly thing that happened? Are there a lot of jokes and comedy that come out of it? Or is there truly an underlying horror to it? It, if you're confused by that, and that was one of the biggest elements of the entire run of films, then I think other stuff starts to break down. I'm probably being a little bit more dramatic than I need to in this, but I think this is like one of the biggest examples of places that the Marvel Universe has to fix. Is they've got to determine, okay, we can't have lots of different genres. We can have lots of different stories. We can have lots of different things going on. But there's a couple true things. Like in the movies, you had lots of different styles of films, but they were very protective of Thanos. Thanos has got to be imposing. He's got to be, evil. He's got to be kind of lurking and sinister. You did not see them do things like, in the James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy, Thanos gets off his chair and like slips on a banana peel. It's like, what, bro? Like, you didn't see that. He was protected, so you didn't see that kind of stupid silliness come out of there. If you looked at, I would argue that long before the Kang actor got involved in that uh, domestic abuse thing, got kind of exiled from the movies, that post-credit scene in Ant-Man Quantumania, where you have the kind of legion of Kangs and a bunch of them are like jumping around like monkeys and acting stupid and just being silly and ridiculous. I think that killed off the sinister threat of Kang more than anything else, because he was not protected in that moment. It was just zany and weird and wacky. He wasn't a sinister threat. If you watch the first season of Loki, where they kind of meet up with Kang, and he's this person at the end of the time, he had a sinister aspect to him. He felt like a dangerous threat. And throughout kind of the first half of Quantumania, he's this lurking kind of threat. By the time you got to that in movie, it's hard to think of this guy as a big conqueror who's going to take on the Avengers and everything else. And you've got a bunch of like silly looking, multiversal Kangs acting stupid. It that doesn't work. And so you have to maintain at least some consistent things to keep your movie up. So I ask you, like, what was the snap supposed to be? Is it meant to be a threat? Is it meant to be kind of something funny that happened? Are there, what are other elements in these films that just need to always be true in order for them to all sew together, work together? Like what's left? Anyway, I think if you look at how the snap has been handled in the last several movies, it's extremely inconsistent between kind of the Eternals, between Marvels, between a lot of the Disney TV shows that are just kind of wildly different in how that's handled. You have it's treated as across the board everything from a horrific traumatizing event to, and this is how he got two wives kind of jokes. And I think that's probably a bigger problem. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe or don't. It's totally up to you. Thanks for listening.